heroin with my mom, and then I got hooked. Our lives were in danger. I didn't know what I was worth. I didn't know anything. I just was so hooked on those drugs.
What's your story, man?
You want me to tell my story?
Go for it.
Okay. So, growing up, I was with my parents, my mom and my dad, but they were both alcoholics, drug addicts that were also trying to recover off and on. I grew up feeling, I'd say, socially unaccepted when I was a child. I had friends, but I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And I was 8 years old. They got a divorce, and my brother was born, right after my brother was born. And my mom was in recovery. My dad went to rehab for alcohol. And I ended up moving in with my grandmas. And, well, me and my brother did. I felt like I was somewhere stable. I was eating healthy. I was getting taken care of. I was doing my homework. It was like the normal life. But that only lasted a few years. And then I finally moved back with my dad. When I moved back in with my dad, things were cool. I was in a punk rock band. I thought I was cool, rock on, yeah. And it was, he taught me how to play the drums. It was really fun. But then I was drinking on the side with my friends, and then stealing my dad's pills, and then it came to the point where my dad was buying us alcohol, giving me pills, and letting me stay home from school to smoke pot with him. And I was like 12. Then my dad got so bad, it came to the point where I would come home after going and partying with my friends, or just going and hanging out with my friends. I wasn't always partying then. I was just going and hanging out. I wanted to be around people because I felt accepted. I'd come home and I'd find my dad passed out on the floor. I'd find him passed out anywhere and have to help him back up and make sure he's okay. And I didn't have anybody I could turn to talk to about that. But that was a really scary point in my life. Then my mom found out about this and that I was skipping school, and she took me to Roseville to live with her and her fiance at the time. And I was really mad because I had to leave my band. And it was like so cool. And so I had to leave my band, and I went up there and lived up there for a little while, and things weren't very good up there either. And our lives were in danger. We packed up the house and left basically overnight after he went to jail. And when that happened, we came down here back to Modesto. It was me and my mom. My brother ended up staying with my dad. We all ended up staying together at my dad's mom's, my grandma's. And then my dad was there, my mom was there in separate rooms. We were staying there. It was really crazy. When that happened, we ended up staying at a hotel, and my mom told me for some reason that I had to go with her. She said that I couldn't stay with my grandma's, that I had to go with her, and I believed that. I believed that I needed to go with my mom. So when I went with my mom, we stayed in a hotel. We were living off of her inheritance money. And when we stayed in this hotel, she was lonely, and I had older friends. My friends were in their 20s, and I was like 13. And they invited her to a party, and when they invited her to a party, she started using coke, and I tried it with her for the first time. And then I did heroin with my mom, and then I got hooked. That happened, and we were homeless, living on the streets, living wherever we could. I'd stay wherever I could. I used my body for things as a young girl, to get us shelter, to get us drugs, to get us anything. And that was my life for a long time. I didn't know what I was worth. I didn't know anything. I just was so hooked on those drugs and taking care of my mom that I degraded myself for so long. So I lived on the streets for a very long time, from 14 to off and on, because there would be times where my dad would get me back for a couple months, and then I'd just run off and go be with my mom again, or run off and go to the streets again, or I just couldn't stay away from it. I just kept going, and I kept leaving, and I kept going, and I kept leaving. And I just went for that lifestyle of selling drugs, doing drugs, being around people that were stealing everything so I could get everything I could, stealing stuff, selling stuff. It was just that whole circle of lies that I was living in. I didn't know stability. I didn't know that. I had it for a short period of time with my grandmas, but after that it was over. Turned 18. I was bad. I was on the streets. I was doing everything I could, running around with whatever guy I was with at the time, using with, and ended up getting hit by a car. So I ended up getting hit by a truck walking across the street in southern Modesto. And when I got hit by a truck, I broke my femur, shattered my pelvis, my hips, everything. Like, I could have died. And I thought it was a wake-up call, and it lasted for a few days until 2 days after I got out of the hospital. I felt like I was, okay enough to do drugs again, and I still did them. I thought that would stop me, but it didn't. I started getting into hanging out with a lot of the wrong people. I mean, I always was hanging out with a bunch of people. I wouldn't say the wrong people, because they were in their addiction too, so I wouldn't say they were wrong, because I wasn't a wrong person. I was just in a wrong kind of life. And I ended up getting in trouble for kidnapping and home invasion and all kinds of stuff at 18, and I was pregnant with my daughter. And was fighting that case for a long time, and that was a really scary point, but that's still it. I got clean when I was pregnant with my daughter, but still, after I had my daughter, I fell in love, and I knew that was the real love, and I was never going to do anything to my daughter to hurt her. And when I did, after I did have her and was clean for a little while, I fell right back into using again, right back into it, and I just couldn't get away. I couldn't get away. I tried First Step. I tried all kinds of stuff, and I just couldn't stop. Like, there was that thing inside me that still told me, you're not done yet. You're not done yet. I wasn't done yet. Later on down the road, I still was getting in trouble. I think I've been to jail about 6 or 7 times. Lots of them were for drug possession charges. A couple warrants for not fulfilling, like, Prop 36 and stuff like that. Having my daughter move out away from me when she was about 2.5 or 3, and I had her move in with her dad's mom. And when I did that, I think that was the best decision I could make for her at the time, because I wasn't a fit mom at all. I was using, I couldn't stop. I was letting all these crazy people around, and I just knew she wasn't safe. And I felt like I was doing the right thing, but I felt like it was supposed to be temporary, but it turned into she's still there. So that's painful. That's got to be one of the most painful things, but there's more. So